are you still there? Yep. Would you like to do an introduction to Shirley to start with?
Yeah, so Shirley, we've known each other for quite a while, I think. Shirley has been in hospitality for many years, moving down from Orkney to Edinburgh, I think 20 odd years ago, when she and her husband Derek bought the Dunstane House Hotel. As an independent operator, she's been at the forefront of kind of Edinburgh hospitality, tourism hospitality, business tourism, and it's ideally placed right around the corner from Murrayfield Stadium, so also sporting tourism as well. And I think, am I right in saying you've refurbished, is it 3 or 4 times over the years, or two or three major refurbishments? So trying to keep ahead of the curve because there's a lot of competition from independent hotels in Edinburgh. And we got to know each other a few years ago and joined each other on networking trips and Hit Scotland escapades. And I just wanted, we really wanted to get your opinion from an independent operator's perspective on what the lockdown has meant for your business and how you see it emerging, what the challenges have been and what you think they will be.
Okay, thanks Alex for inviting me on here today. Nice to meet all of you. Well, I think it has been a big challenge. I've never seen anything like this through my time anyway, so it's kind of, we've all been through some disasters like the foot and mouth and the SARS, but I think this one is a bit different. Seems to have, because as you say, you know, lockdown, I mean, I know we've been in lockdown, but we haven't been captured like Edinburgh House and we can't go out at all. So we've all been lucky that we're, you know, we've had the luxury that we've got heating, light, all the luxury foods around us to keep us going. And of course, the beautiful sunshine that we did have seems to have disappeared. I think that kept us all going in the first few months. But I think realistically, when you look now and see what's happening across the world really, or even more so in Scotland where we're looking at, for the hospitality industry, it is devastating for a lot of us. And I'm sure you all know a lot of places, mainly a lot of restaurants, that people are making it hard to make the margins as it is. You know, we're just running a line where it was just maybe even breaking even before all this. And then when all this comes, and then they've got all the rent to pay, they've got, you know, all their overheads, there is just, you know, unfortunately, there's just a lot of them are not going to survive. Some of them have been very proactive here in Edinburgh, and they've been doing home dining, and, you know, they're doing it at the weekends, and they're actually sold out. I mean, most of the ones that I know are just sold out. As soon as they put it on, they're sold out within, you know, the first couple of days, which is quite good. That's obviously people are still keen to support, you know, the local restaurants. So that's a good sign. And for us here, I think it's been hard. It's just been me now here. I've had to furlough all the staff. So we've got 25 staff. And over the last 3 years, we've changed our sort of business to obviously go more on the international market. So that's been a big, you know, a big drop in our business this year. For, I mean, we're running probably in the summer, we're probably running 60% international to 40% local UK trade. So in the winter, so hence why our summer has been seeing a lot of cancellations, because it's all been from overseas mainly. So people that I thought might stick, you know, for August, September, you know, obviously that's a big dip for us because it's a lot of international travel there. So hopefully now we're just diving into the UK market for the summer, you know, that we have left, to try and, you know, try and get people to book, you know, last minute. I'm sure, I don't know about you, but everyone I speak to is just desperate to get away for a trip, even if it's one night, you know, 2 nights, whatever you want to do. But it's just, I think in Edinburgh, or I suppose everywhere, the competition is going to be, you know, it's going to be strife. And I think in Edinburgh, especially because of all the big events and corporate is all being sort of cancelled, there's going to be a lot more availability in the city. So we're just hoping that the 5-star market will hold out the rates so that we don't have to, you know, drop on the rates, and because that will be a complete nightmare to get all that back up. on track again, and just hope that they're going to add some added incentives rather than reduce the rate, but we'll wait and see. So, but it's really hard coming in every day with no staff, no guests. I think morally it's quite depressing coming in just to deal with cancellations every day. It's not really what gets you going in the morning. So when you get a booking now, it's going back. I was just speaking to my husband last night. I said, gosh, I got a booking last night. It was like going back 20 years to our guest house days and thinking, oh my God, it's exciting. I've got a booking. It's like, this is like, so it's, I do think you value things a lot more. But I think it's going to be a slow process, slow progress, certainly for us to build up, you know, more trade. But I think fortunately for us, we're in a lucky situation where we are. We're located just sort of between Haymarket and Murrayfield, which is just slightly outside Princes Street. So it's still within the city centre, but we're on the sort of outskirts, as we call it. And we've got free car parking. You know, people can leave their car, they can go for runs, you know, the water release just at the back of us. They can hop in their car and go to wherever, really, in an hour's drive, 2 hours drive, you know, anywhere in Scotland. So we're kind of promoting ourselves now as the gateway to Scotland, so that people will come and stay longer with us, and, you know, hopefully they'll take some day trips out of Edinburgh. So it's just trying to think about promotion, and, you know, we've decided to do some more PR, and you know, for us opening, and to trying to get our name out there again, so just so that people haven't forgotten all about us. So we're really pushing the boat out to try and get people to come and stay, not just with us but in Scotland, you know, as a whole. So I think nobody really knows what's going to happen with business, you know, so we're all speculating, you know, what we think is going to happen, or, you know, so it's kind of, I think you just have to do as much marketing, sort of contacting your database, you know, contacting all your people that you've dealt with, trying to convince them to come back, and it's all safe. So I think safety is a big key for getting the message out there that we're still, you know, it's a safe place to come. But, and, you know, I don't know if you've been to the Dunstane, but we're all about the experience. So it's kind of hard for us, you know, we're not a robot hotel. So it's, you know, we like to be sitting down with our guests, we like to be chatting to them. So it's going to be a wee bit different, but we don't want the guests to feel like they're not going to get the experience when they come. So I think it's going to be, you know, at the moment we're at the process of getting an app, you know, so that people can check in, so it's connected to our PMS, so that we can get them to check in prior to them coming. And then, you know, so we have much information about the guests before they come, and we'll put out a questionnaire, you know, lots of things, that whether they want their room service daily, whether they want turn down, you know, any requests for food and beverage, so that we have it all, so that people know in advance what we can do. So I think you have to be crystal clear and give that message out to the guests, what you're offering and what you're not. And so I think, fortunately as well for us, 3 years ago we decided to take away our reception desk, and, you know, we wanted to be a more home from home, so we don't have that congestion, you know, with people coming into a reception desk. You know, they really just come through and invite them through to the lounge, you know, and we'll explain everything about, you know, what's happening, what's opened in Edinburgh and where to go. And I think it's actually bringing me back to the old days, like what I used to do. So it's kind of, I think I'm going back, like, you know, 20, 30 years now. So it's interesting, and I'm sure it'll be very challenging too. So, but I don't know if any of you have any questions.
Absolutely. Out of interest, what are you forecasting for the rest of the year in terms of occupancy?
Yeah, well, we would like to see 50%, but looking at the books at the moment, it's nothing like that. So we'll just need to, I think once we get the guidelines on, hopefully we'll get some more news on Thursday with Nicola to say, yes, we can open on the 15th, and also that the guidelines aren't too strict, that it's going to cause an issue. Because I don't think I would like to open my hotel if I had to, like, say to the guests coming in, I've got to take your temperature, and they see everyone in masks. You know, that's not our hotel. So if we have to do this, then it's kind of a trickier situation. So, but hopefully we're aiming to open on the 15th if we can. So, but we'll just be taking a few staff back off of furlough, not all of them, and we'll just have to build it up, you know, as we can.
No, I can understand that. And in terms of services, have you changed any of the services, or are you doing anything new? Apart from the pre-registration?
What we're doing is we're not really changing too much, to be honest. I think the only thing with the food side of it, we won't be doing food all day. We'll be just doing breakfast, and we'll be doing dinners, and we'll be doing afternoon teas, but we won't be doing kind of lunch and food all day. We're developing picnic hampers, so people can have you know, either a breakfast hamper, or they can have a lunch. You know, if they're going away for a drive out to the countryside, we'll have a picnic hamper so they can take away with them. And we'll also have a dinner one that we can have, you know, if they want it in their room as well. So I suppose we're building up for a lot more room dining as well. So that's really what we're preparing for the food and beverage side. I'm still not sure about how we're going to operate, you know, serving the food, you know, to people, if you've got to have the 2 meter distance rule. But that's, a lot of people have been saying, you know, they're having like a little side table that they're putting it on, just 2 meters away from their table, and then they come and pick it up and take it to the table. But I'm hoping by the time we open that that's relaxed a little bit.
Oh, I can see. And in terms of rate, are you going to be altering the rate you charge, or do you think it'll take time to get back to what you were charging just pre-lockdown?
We've not altered the rate too much. Obviously for August we have, because August is obviously a peak month for us. But other than that, we've reduced it a little bit, but not much. But we're trying to do some added incentives, and for people to book direct rather than going through the OTA. Because OTAs have been a killer for our business, as you know, for a few years, and especially now, you know, the way that they've been working, you know, when this lockdown came around, it's not done much hotels any favours, to be honest. So we're trying to look and people booking directly with us, and we're doing a lot of added incentives. Thank you.
And in terms of your story, how's lockdown been? Because you spent 20 years. You launched in 1998, is that right?
1998. Yeah.
And so you spent 22 years building the business up. How's lockdown been for you personally? The whole journey.
Yeah, it's been quite depressing, because we just brought it up to something quite unique, I think, and we had such a good last 3 years, and quite an interesting journey. So we've built up to a sort of new market for us, as I say. So we've been promoting overseas, we've been promoting in the UK, we've been promoting in Ireland. So we've been kind of doing a lot of work with agents, you know, luxury travel agents, and trying to get as much business direct as possible, and trying to work with a lot of key partners that are individuals who are going to give the guest, you know, a good experience, you know, when they're here as well, you know, whether it's a trip, you know, with, you know, Andy or Highlander, who takes them up north in their tartan gear and all that. It's what the guest wants. So we've been spending a lot of time doing all this, and then it just seems to be like now it's all kind of taken from us, but we just have to start again and build it up. That's all you can do.
And that's the real challenge, isn't it? It's how we rebuild from here, isn't it? It's getting back mentally almost a few steps.
Yeah. It's just, and it'd be interesting to see or hear what the guests think when they start coming in. You know, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, most of our guests, I think, that want to come to us, they're kind of obviously everyone has to obey the rules, but they're not wanting to come to a place that's rigid and robotic. So they're quite, I'm not saying they're happy to take the risk, but that's they know that it's a risk to them coming away, and they're willing to take the plunge and just go, so that's, I think I'm in that kettle of fish too. I think we've all fed up now. I think it's going on too long, and I think we just need to get out there, and obviously if we keep washing our hands and keep our distance, I think we'll be fine.
Can I ask a question? Can I just butt in there, Chris? Just about your marketing, because you've spent years marketing the business to overseas visitors. Have you started then the plan for domestic? Because presumably it's going to be purely domestic over the next few months, and if not years. So your entire plan is to get people presumably back in, but from Scotland, and then send them out again on your, because you've got a lot of loyal clients as well, don't you? You've got a lot of people that come to you repeatedly.
Yeah, we do.
But getting new business in, is that going to be the big focus? New
business. This is why we've taken on, well, the PR company that we used when we sort of relaunched 3 years ago. From London, with luckily one of the girls is moving back to Edinburgh, so she's starting up her own business, which is great. So it's an exciting time for her, and it's exciting for us to have her back on board again. So that's hence why we decided to do this, because we need to obviously promote now to Scotland and the UK. So and she's got brilliant ideas of how to do that. So we're fortunate, we've got car parking spaces in both hotels, and we're trying to encourage people, because I'm sure, as you know, a lot of people hop in their car and just drive up. So we're looking at that people that's in London that have been stuck in their flat for 12 weeks and desperate to get out of there and have a drive up to Scotland, or even hopefully they can fly or take the train. So that's what we're looking at the moment. So we're and the messaging going out. So we're going to strongly put some messaging out. Obviously, once we know we're definitely going to open on the 15th, we'll be getting all that messaging going out socially and to our database that we've built up over the years.
That's good. And what's the atmosphere like in Edinburgh at the moment? Is it calm and positive, or is it getting a bit strange?
If you go to the city centre, it's dead quiet. But if you're out, like, at Roseburn, or if you're out, in Stockbridge, it's crazy. Like, when you go to the fish shop, you're queuing for about 300 yards, and then there's another queue for the coffee shop, and it's like, in the pavements, there's no way it's 2 metre distance, and it's like I was down there the other day, and it was just like a really busy Saturday.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
So communities like that are busy, but when you go to the centre of town, it's nothing happening.
It goes back to John's point he was making a bit earlier, John. It was about, do we think people will just go straight back to normal again? Or will people stay local, and will they build up a new kind of community attitude? John, do you want to come in?
Well, I'm fearful. It was predicted a kind of 20% retention, but I'm fearful that the message is, there's light messaging, but there needs to be stronger messaging about the whole supporting the local economy, local producers, local outlets, maybe less so chains, etc. People are creatures of habit. Have we been in it long enough to change that habit? That's debatable. But I think that we need that consistent, strong messaging about, it's maybe a bit pre-working together, but it's so true. We need to ensure that the Scottish and regional economies are supported as much as possible. We're going to need each other,
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Gary, your view on all this? Gary Atkinson?
I worry just what John said, that people will just go back to the habits, because seeing the retail sector yesterday and Monday, that's astonishing why somebody would queue up at 7:30 to go into John Lewis at 9 o'clock. It's just astonishing just how many people wanted to go back into the shops. For what reason? That then beggars belief, okay, maybe people will just revert back to what they were doing before, which which obviously we just don't know. And it's that consistent message. We just don't know until we get open what people are going to do. And as I've always said, I feel for the independents. It's going to be challenging because the brands will just flood the messages out there because they can. They've got the deep pockets to go out and do the marketing. Glasgow, as I've reported, and very similar to what Shirley was saying, the West End of Glasgow on a weekend is very, very busy. Very busy. Just what you're saying. People queuing up to go into the ice cream shops. Botanical Gardens is busy, and yet the city centre is less so. Notably, when you're walking back into the city, you feel it's much quieter in the city centre. But then I just wouldn't have thought what we saw on Monday and Tuesday with the retail. I never would have thought that would have happened.
Is that just a reaction to 12 weeks being locked away?
Possibly, and if that's the case, then hopefully people will come back into the hotels and restaurants. But there is that, as we know, and we've been speaking about for the last 10, 12 weeks, there is that health and hygiene issue, whether we can maintain or get that loyalty back with the consistent messages that we are safe as an industry.
I mean, it's really interesting because we hosted a conference last week with hoteliers all across Europe, and the feedback was hygiene. They still see hygiene as the big factor to get people back and engaging. But I do wonder, I always think hygiene is a given, and actually it's the services I think will bring people back. And that's why I'm more positive. I think independents could do quite well. Marco, your view on this? Or Shirley, do you want to start?
I'm just going to do one last thing about the independents. I think it's really up to the independents that's done well in this period, that have done so much marketing socially. And I think that's how they've got a lot of business, because they've went out there, they've went, up and beyond and taken their business because they want to survive. So I think as long as they keep doing this, because I think what happened before was some of the small independents, they sort of sat there and thought, oh, the business isn't here, or it's going to come to us anyway, we don't need to do this. So I think you can't sit quiet, you have to shout about your place or your product or whatever it is you're selling. And I think if you keep on top of the game, I think the independents have got a good, strong, come out of this pretty good, so I think as long as they keep up what they're doing now, because there's lots of things that I'm seeing on social that I never even knew existed or were people that was there, or great ideas that seems to be coming out of the woodwork. So it does make you buy, because you're seeing it. Before, if you never saw it, you wouldn't buy. So I think it's a whole marketing thing for them, that they need to change their approach or keep their approach going. And like with the home dining, with the restaurants here in Edinburgh, I think talking to a few of them, they're hoping to keep that going because they're seeing such a positive demand for it.
I think that's right. Marco, your views on this?
Well, we are, or most people are, social animals. The lockdown has been a very unnatural event for the vast majority of people. And I suspect that it is only expected or natural to see extreme reactions. People just crave to be together again, to gather around other people. I've seen it in relatively small hotels. When you call for team training, people just naturally come towards you to hug you and try to be normal again. But with regards to the reopening, I think that the hospitality industry, especially the independent providers, will need to lead on the art of hospitality, which will need to cater for, I think that the country is 50-50 at the moment in terms of ways of behaving. There will be a 50% that will be very mindful, very worried, very concerned about cleaning processes, physical distancing, how can people serve me without contaminating me, and so on and so on. And there will be another 50% that will try to get back to normal as nothing ever happened, and possibly ignore some, if not all, of the guidelines. It's up to us in hospitality to glide and to accommodate both types of people. Of course, we always expect that our kind of clientele will behave a lot better, and I'm sure that they would. But I think that there is more opportunities in smaller establishments to communicate and to display a aura of calmness and service levels that will instinctively not force but encourage people to behave and not to get too close to one another, and comply with whatever instructions in Scotland we may receive tomorrow from the First Minister, and of course guidelines from our own industry bodies.
And I noticed, obviously, this week's the real beginning redundancy week, as I call it, as people trying to hit the end of July. I noticed Hilton yesterday announced huge amounts of redundancies. I do wonder whether this actually will help the independents a bit. Marco, your view?
Well, it is redundancy week. I'm sure that everybody is going through scenario planning, and the occupancy levels that Shirley referred to earlier on are quite important. What is the, they're different for every operator, but every operator will have done, hopefully, their break-even analysis and calculated what is survival, what is break-even, what maybe even making a couple of quids so we can save from making people redundant. But the next 2 weeks for the independent, I think, are going to be pretty crucial, because if the physical distancing guidelines are not going to be amended, sadly, that will mean, and I have spoken with a number of operators, that will mean that a number of them will not be able to reopen, very sadly. For others, it will mean a totally different type of service. If they have to enact a different type of service, that will mean that a number of people's positions will no longer be viable.
Thank you. Shirley, are you working a 2-metre rule, or are you actually estimating what's going to come down?
Well, we are quite fortunate where we are because of the 2-metre rule. I think the only 2-metre rule that we would have is, people going to the bar or whatever. So everything will be table service. So we're a small hotel. We've got 2 houses, 35 bedrooms over the 2, so we can spread people around, so we're quite fortunate that way. We've got 2 lounges, we've got conservatory, we've got the outside garden, so we're actually quite fortunate in a way where we are, and we're not a busy, bustling place, and so with the guests that are coming, they come here for a home from home, quiet kind of spell. They're not coming here for a busy, bustling, hotel. So I don't see much change. I think the only 2 meters would be like the corridors, if people were, going to have to, you would just have to communicate with them and say, look, it's all about communication with us. So we will be talking to our guests continuously throughout their stay. And I think for us as well, it's an advantage because we can say to, even if it's 2 couples, I don't know if you've been, we've got lots of nooks and crannies and different levels where we are with an old Victorian building. So we can just say, look, there's a cluster of rooms here, you're on your own, you've got that floor to yourself, so that people are feeling a lot more safe. So that's what we are sort of aiming for, so that they can have their own little cluster, of rooms, if it's a 2 or 3, if a family wants to come away or whatever. So it's just the food and beverage that's a struggle. I think the accommodation and the breakfast will be no problem. It'll just be the food and beverage that we still need to sort of work on. But as you know, you go to a supermarket, you're all 2 meters distance, to get into the shop. But I went to Marks and Spencer's last week, and when you were in the shop, honestly, it was like I don't know, it was just people were passing each other and just, and so close together. So I think there's going to be times in the hotel where you're going to have to pass a guest, that it's not 2 meter distance. But I mean, they do that anywhere. So I think, to be honest, I don't think we'll be making too much change.
I understand that. And that's interesting. Your traditional business, where does it come from? Is it international? Is it England? Is it local?
In the summer months, I would say 60% of our trade is international, probably 40% of that being American. Yeah. And in the winter time, it sort of switches, you know, so we're probably 60-70% UK. So we're obviously heading into the winter time so soon. So it'll be, if we can get people, you know, to book and get away, and I'll just be interested to see, you know, once we start putting our notices out there and getting in contact with people, how many people will want to come and book. You know, if we get the more announcement, yes, hotels are all opening on the 15th of July, and you know, some people have taken a decision not to open, you know, till the 1st of August, until I think it's just so people get time to plan, and you know, they know that they're going to come away. Because if you open on the 15th and there's no trade, that's my worry. Is you think, oh great, we've got, you know, the bookings are good, but then all of a sudden it just takes one day for a few cancellations to come in and it's wiped out.
I understand that. David Wood, can I bring you in at this point? Because you have quite a number of views about how we reopen as well, don't you? You're still on mute, I'm afraid. David, you're on mute. There we go. Hear you now.
Right. Okay. I took a lot of what Marco said and Shirley's remarks to heart, because I think both of them are right. There are 50% of the public who will adhere to rules and do things, and there are the other masses. I think Shirley's in a great advantage in having a bijou establishment that allows them to see that they have individual care and not a mass of people around them. So people like me, who I'm one of the 50% who adhere to the rules, would be very happy in Shirley's environment. But there are questions that are still unanswered by government and by the authorities, which still worry me as a consumer rather than an operator, which were reflected in your conference last week, which is about cleanliness. And although I understand Shirley's remarks about the restaurant getting close, how you're going to get food to people, but actually I go back to the rooms and I look at Shirley's rooms and I see a lot of fabric on the back of the beds. I see pillows, which we have advice about what we're going to do with pillow slips, but those pillows are there for a period of time, and we have mattresses. And there's an issue there of tracking people that have been there, whether they're infected or not, how we keep in touch with them, and advice on how clean those areas might have to be, what we have to do with them. I've consulted actually with the Health and Safety Executive, Visit UK, DCMS and Scottish Tourism Alliance about those particular issues about bedheads, pillows and mattresses. No one is giving me an answer. What's clean? Perhaps it's a period of time is clean, is the best I've got. And that could be 72 hours, 48 hours, or it could be 24 hours, depending on, actually, the Health and Safety Executive won't actually vote for one of those either. They just mention them.
It's become one of the topics, isn't it, recently, about actually people now getting confused about what to do, what's the proper thing to do. Shirley, your views on that?
I think, yeah, it's like, where do we end? It's like, where do we end this conversation? Because it's some of it to me is getting just a bit ridiculous. So for us, safety and cleanliness is the number one key as well, because that's what our message is all about. So our standard of cleanliness has always been, 100%, with any Visit Scotland inspection or anything that people that come and inspect us. So we're putting into place, obviously, when guests come, we're just in conversation with our toiletry company to see if we can get I know they're doing hand sanitizer, but I'm trying to get them to do an amenity pack so that in all the bedrooms we'll be putting, you know, an amenity pack, which will be, you know, a face mask, hand sanitizer, wipes in the room, so that each guest will have their own private individual one. Now, as of, you know, we will be spending, we always take we're not one of these hotels that takes 20 minutes to clean your room. We've always, you know, there's no time given, it's just how clean we want it to be. So we will be making sure there is extra time put, you know, for that. And then once a week, we're going to, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like basically they're calling it the bomb. So it's a disinfectant bomb so that you can put in the room, and it disinfects, you know, the whole room. So we'll be doing that again, you know, we won't be doing it every day. We'll be doing it on a weekly basis. So it's just, I think regarding to the pillows and the duvets and the mattresses, not sure about the headboards, but, you know, we have a routine anyway of cleanliness, of making sure our mattresses are all turned, hoovered, and all the, you know, the protectors, the duvets, the pillows are all washed regularly anyway. So it's I suppose it's, you know, it might come to it that people think, oh, they want to take their own pillows with them, you know. And I did read a story the other day that, you know, it might come to it that, you know, the linen is just laid outside the door, and then you've got to come in and make up your own bed to make sure it's right for you. So, but hopefully we won't have to go down that route, because that's not what we're all about, that's for sure.
I mean, that's the hard bit, isn't it? Is how do you create an experience for the customer? How do you actually create that new journey? It's going to be interesting.
Just imagine. Sorry.
So no, I just think it's all about communication with the guest, and you have to. It's basically like what you do anyway. I'm sure. You know, when you get somebody walking in through your door, you kind of, you know if that person is wanting to be, what let's say, communicated in a special way, or they definitely want interaction. You know, so it's kind of, you've got to, you know, be a bit savvy and use your own common sense and treat every guest individual, and like what we do anyway. So there's not going to be much change with us, I don't think.
I understand that. Alex?
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, just have visions as you're talking about this of people turning up at your door with duvets under their arms and packs of pillows if they're staying for 3 or 4 days, you know? It's a ridiculous scenario.
It is ridiculous, but in the mind, I mean, I have a cough. I have an inherent cough that has been with me for 7, 8 years. I cough. There's nothing wrong with me, but there might be. And at that point, I think I put my head on the pillow, on your pillow, and I cough at your headboard. You know, and if I was ill, I'd be infecting people. Personally, I'm not going to stay in anybody's hotel because of that. But I just wonder how many other of us 50% who adhere to the rules are going to not stay in hotels for a bit. I have pondered on the idea of putting food onto a table that you collect from, of trying to think of an interval whereby you could get the customers to evacuate a table for a moment, a place you go for something to happen, an activity to take you away from the table so that food could go on the table. But then you get to the issue of disabled people and how you get them in and out of that space. The problems are immense, but these are the sort of practical issues that I worry about, that we're not learning from one another, if you like. McDonald's will do what they do, and they'll do it badly or well or whatever, but they'll survive. It's people like Shirley who don't have the opportunity to talk these issues through with others, which worries me.
Could it be a case of turning up to a hotel like Shirley's? I mean, obviously there's a cost implication here and how you build that into your rates, I'm not sure, but do you remember the night sleeper when you used to turn up and you get your little toothbrush and toothpaste, and you get that in hotels now anyway? Could could it be a case of having your pillows, and they're fresh pillows, and that will instill ultimate confidence. They're shrink wrapped, or however you wrap them up, they're in plastic, and they're sort of single-use pillows. Now, I don't know how you incorporate that with the quality of them as well, and correspond that to the price implications.
I think that, I mean, one of the comments that we get is all about our beds and about our bed linen. You know, how comfy they are, how nice they are. Where did you get your pillows from? Where did you get your duvets from? Where did you get your beds from? Where did you get your sheets from? You know, so people are loving it, you know, and maybe they don't have that same standard at home, some people, I don't know, but they obviously seem to like what we offer. But it's, yeah, I just think, you know, I've been doing this for like 30 years, and you know, why all of a sudden? I know this one is a bit different because nobody knows what it is and how you can get it, and you know, there's no real you know, answer to it. But I think, you know, every day we're taking a risk, you know, of some sort. So I don't know. There's no real answer, but I do listen to David as well with people, you know, that's thinking, you know, that it can be contagious. But it's, I don't know, it's one of these things. You either have to move on or we'll be in the house the rest of our lives.
John, can I bring you in?
Yeah. For me, I mean, it's a mixture of what you're all saying there, though. And we're considering going away and stuff too. But it's all about the experience, and you know, unless that experience is going to be a good experience, then what's the point in leaving the house? In some ways, unless it's going to be better than your own house. So it's also about managing expectations. So if we're going to do the likes of what you're potentially suggesting there, Alex, is that people know that that's what they're going to receive when they get there, about the communication of it. But for me, it's all about that experience. And you know, if you know, even we're talking about, you know, will we go away? We're in the less fearful, like we're probably more, we're not too gung-ho, we're aware of the risks, etc. But we would be more like, just get on with it. But do you want to sit in a plane with a mask on and get to Italy or wherever you go and not have a great experience, or Edinburgh? It doesn't matter, Skye, it doesn't matter where you go. If it's not going to be a good experience, will you go? That's my fear.
Right, look, I agree on that, John. Jane, can I bring you in at this point? You've done quite a lot of work on the hygiene piece as well, haven't you?
Yeah, around the Scottish Government guidance for reopening schools, that's obviously been really high in the agenda. Everyone's worried about opening schools and people aren't staying in those overnight. And so it is different challenges, but the guidance is really clear around things like soft furnishings in classrooms and toys and soft seating and things, which is get out what's not needed. And that's not helpful in a hospitality environment, but it's very much around that. And the amnesty period of time, you're right, still debate about what that is, but best practice at the moment is 72 hours. That's what we've got to kind of go on. That's what Health Protection Scotland guidance is looking at. So for me, I would definitely be looking at that. How can you then have that kind of room amnesty between guests, and how can you make sure you've got that space of time? You're right when it comes to all the new techniques around cleaning. You know, we're using electrostatic cleaning in schools, but we've been using that for some time now, which definitely helps. But ultimately, it's just about good old-fashioned cleaning and disinfectant. You know, soap water kills this bug, and as long as we're using a cleaning chemical that deals with enveloped viruses, we should be good to go.
Thank you. I mean, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because it does come down to occupancy levels as well, and how you get to break even. Shirley, can I ask what kind of occupancy you need to break even?
Well, for us to take, you know, our sort of 5 key staff back, you know, that we are looking to take back, you know, we need to be sort of operating at 50%.
And that's the challenge, isn't it? Is how quick you can get back to that 50%, isn't it?
So I'm looking at, I don't know, it might be a way that we're open, and, you know, we'll be open and closed like yo-yos, you know, because there might be weekends that we're busy, and then, you know, we might have nobody in, you know, Monday, Tuesday or whatever. So we might have to only operate 5 days a week. So we still don't know. Our plan is to open 7 days, but at the moment, but it's, I can see it, you know, being like that would be like more like a 5-day week.
Paul, can I bring you in at this point? Because obviously you represent a number of small businesses. How do you see the challenge of everyone everyone at the moment?
I've been very interested in what's being said. I think there's a number of really good points here. I think that the hygiene thing here is absolutely critical, and I am aware now that there is some formal training available from various companies on COVID-19 hygiene training, and I think that's something as an industry we should really look at, because that then leads to dealing with the confidence side of things, and as David said, there is going to be resistance from an element of our community in terms of coming back out into the environment. So the hygiene thing, if it's done properly and it's formalised and it's certificated, will help with the confidence thing. I think that looking at it from a purely economic point of view, we've got to do something about the 2 metre rule, because that is going to make, if that remains in place, that is going to make 80% of our units completely unviable, and actually cheaper to remain closed. I think there is a real opportunity here going forward in terms of promoting the green aspect of things moving forward, and I think that's something that we need to look at. The quality side of it, I think those small independent businesses that really go down the route of quality, I think that they have got a story to tell, and I think they will ultimately do well. The human factors will definitely come into place. I'm getting a distinct impression here that people are, you know, at the end of their tether, quite frankly. We're now heading into week 14 of this, and I think that there is rebellion on its way. And ultimately, going back to David's points, it's ultimately going to be down to personal risk assessment, what you as an individual feel comfortable with, and it's up to us to make our own minds. I've got a Zoom conference with our small operators next week, and really wanted to get their feedback. I know what some of it is, but I'd be keen to get that back into the conversation here at some point in the future.
Well, that'd be good. And one of the big challenges, isn't it, you rightly say, it's 14 weeks, is how do you re-engage staff after furlough? And the longer that goes on, the harder it's going to be to re-engage them.
I think there's going to be a training issue, getting people back into the workplace again. They've been off work for 14 weeks and kind of got used to sitting around not doing a lot. Is there going to be, well, I think there's going to be a real issue with productivity and getting people motivated back into the workplace again.
Shirley, your view on this, on furlough and getting people back in?
Yeah, I'm quite agreeing with Paul. It's, you know, they're quite used to, you know, as you say, you know, being home and, you know, having to come in, especially in the hotel industry when it's a different shift pattern, you know, so, you know, if they're up early in the morning at 6:30, I'm sure a lot of them are never up at that time just now. And again, with late shifts, you know, they're not being, you know, the whole pattern will be changed. And I think, I mean, again, we're lucky because all our staff are kind of like, we're all big one family. So we kind of all work together. So we're kind of a bit different again, I would say, because we're quite close to each other. So I think a lot of them have a lot of respect for us and we have a lot of respect for them. So I think, you know, they'll be honest and we'll be honest. So that's the way that we will go forward with them. So, but it will be hard, but luckily the furlough has been extended and we can take them on part-time. So from July, so that's made a huge difference, because if that didn't come into play, it might be a different story.
I mean, it's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because furlough has been great in terms of protecting jobs. The counter is, will it change people's mentalities as well? They've gone from a kind of relaxation piece, which actually a lot of people have secretly enjoyed, and then suddenly when redundancy started, everyone's going to get very anxious. It's almost extremes. Yeah,
it is, and I don't know if it's a prolonged thing, you know, because then in October, what happens then? You know, it's in the middle of winter, you know, so what's going to happen, I don't know. But I mean, when this all first came around, I just thought, you know, at first I had this thing in my head that if it wasn't for my staff and you know, guests, and you know, had so much passion about the hotel, that, you know, I was just thinking, well, there's no point, this year's written off, let's just close and let's just cut all our costs and just wait till spring next year, you know. But that's it's not in my nature to do that, you know. And I just think, you know, the staff are that, you know, some of them are just dying to get back and get into normality. So that's what we're aiming for on the 15th of July, hopefully, anyway.
Oh, well, good luck on that, Shirley. Let's finish on a positive note, because we've got a couple of minutes left, and talk just a bit about your story, because actually you came from Orkney, you set up, you and your husband are on your way down to London, weren't you? And got sidetracked in Edinburgh, is that right? How did that happen?
Yeah, that's well, yeah, Derek and I left Orkney 32 years ago, so it seems like a lifetime. But it's yeah, we just decided that we're going to London when we were very young. So we just hopped in a car and packed a couple of suitcases and off we went. So we had friends in Edinburgh and said, come and stay with us for the weekend, you know. So we did, came here and absolutely fell in love with Edinburgh. So hence we've never moved and decided to make this our home. So then we decided what we're going to do. So I did hotel management and worked at the Caledonian Hotel at the same time. And then I've always had a dream of having my own hotel. So that's what we did. We started off in, we had a 7-bedroom guest house in Trinity called the 39 Steps. And we were there for 7 years. And we also had we had bought a couple of cottages opposite there, and we did holiday lets. So we had the guest house, and then we had 2 holiday homes, and then obviously I had 2 children in the same time, so that was that. And then we always had a fancy on the Dunstane House. We've always had our eye on it for some reason. So anyway, we managed to get hold of the Dunstane House in 1998. So that was a tough year, because we had the guest house, the 2 holiday homes, the 2 young kids, and the Dunstane, which was a complete, like, when we got it, we had to really do a lot to it. So we've just built up from then, and then we've just had refurbishment after refurbishment, and we opened the restaurant and bar in 2001, and then we bought the house across the road, Hampton House, in 2007, which gave us another 18 bedrooms, and we took the 2 of them up to a 4-star level. And then 3 years ago, we decided we needed to do something, you know, a wee bit different. So I actually was introduced to James Lawn, who is obviously the founder of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and because I love their properties, and I've always been wanting to get into Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and it's just knock back after knock back. So anyway, I had a chat with him, and he said, yeah, I think you could make it work here. So he introduced me to his sister, who is an interior designer. So with me and her, we obviously changed the style of the 2 houses and got them. I don't know if you know the Mr. and Mrs. Smith brand, but they're all kind of home from home kind of feel, and very natural. So we you know, everything, you know, that we've done is very practical and quality, and I don't know, just a feel of home is there. So we're quite chuffed with what we achieved, and then obviously all this, but don't worry, we'll bounce back, I'm sure. We just have to keep going, and we all have these, I'm just hoping that it's not going to be a second phase, because that would be a real downer for everyone. But
I think we all agree on that one.
So I think we just have to keep positive and keep, you know, your mind a bay, and keep going and keep pushing and keep marketing your place, because if you've got a lovely place and you're passionate about it, just shout about it.
On that note, can I say thank you, Shirley? That's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. We're out of time. So look, a great story. So I expect certainly to see it bounce back, and hopefully we can help you as well as you do that. But thank you everyone today. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.